Hello and welcome to another Sprues and Brews unboxing video, and in this video we're going to be checking out the Astra Militarum army set, Cadia Stands. So yeah, I've been super excited for this box as soon as it was announced. I've been on the fence about doing a Guard army for years. This seems to be the year that I'm tackling those armies that I've always wanted to do, and this is the next one. So yeah, really excited to check out the contents of this box. We've obviously got this box coming out, and there's a whole bunch of other kits as well. We've got a new tank, we've got a new character. It's all kicking off for the Guard, and they've had to wait a very long time to get their 9th edition Codex. Some might say it could be the last Codex of this edition, in fact, as there are rumours that 10th edition could be on the horizon next year. But for now, let's enjoy it for what it is. It's the 9th edition Codex. It's here. We've got some new kits for the Guard. And it all starts with this army set, which has gone up for pre-order as of this morning at the point this video is going live. So I can barely fit this box on my camera. But as you can see, it's got a gorgeous front cover art with Cadia Stands on the front. And on the side there with Cadian Gate, symbol there. Let's flip this over. It's quite a weighty box. There's an awful lot of weight to this. And we'll check out the back. So you've got the full contents here. Sorry, just knocking the camera there. Try and lie that flat to try and make it a little bit easier to view. There we go. So we've got within this box, as it says here, it contains the Codex, assembly guide, transfer sheet and data cards. It also has 28 Citadel miniatures, 20 shock troops, 1 command squad, 1 sentinel and 2 ordnance teams. These are the brand new field ordnance platforms which you can build in whichever way you like within this box, I believe, but we'll soon find out for definite when we crack this open. I'll show you other contents there. You've got your command squad, some section shock troops, and your sentinel, which can be built as either the armoured one or as the scout sentinel. So yeah, very incredible looking box. I will have to take this off camera to open up, so bear with me. So actually, there was a sleeve over the box, so I thought I'd just very quickly show you what the actual box within that sleeve looks like. So we've got the cool standard on the front there of a Cadia Legion, and on the back, there we go. We've got some more symbols and such there. I wanted to show you that. So this is the actual box, which was within the sleeve. So I will now be right back with the contents. So the box is now open, and what a glorious sight this is. Piles and piles of sprues. So what I'm going to do, I think, is we're going to just move this to one side, and we'll take these out bit by bit. So we'll start with the first sprue I've got my hands on. And this appears to be the Sentinel. So this is a brand new Sentinel for the Guard. Definitely harks a little bit of the original one, but they've made a few tweaks to it, modernised it a little bit. Definitely has a bit more of a Mechanicus feel to it now, I feel. But that is a really nice sprue. We've got different weapon options here: plasma, flamer, auto guns. Got the cockpit there. Different sort of accessories here. Some different heads. So if you can see those. Be your guardsman inside. So yeah, very cool. Lots of small bits. Doesn't like it'll be the most straightforward of builds, but should be okay. Let's bring out the second sprue. So what do we have on here? So this actually looks like part of the command squad, because we've got the banner there. Really nice detailed banner. Let's check out the reverse. There we go. That's very cool. Some of the bodies here. Lots and lots of heads. Chainsword. Sheath sword. Pointing hands. Plasma pistol. Las pistol. Couple of bodies there. Got plasma gun. Flamers. Multi-melters. There are lots of cool stuff on there. The very cool Voxcaster backpack there as well. Looking forward to building that guy. Got a different plasma pistol arm there. So it looks like there might be a few different build options on your commander. Very cool. On to the next one. So this is one of the ordnance weapons. So we've got the field gun on this one. And the las cannon. Oh, and the rocket as well. So it actually looks like that might all be on one sprue. Maybe it's only one sprue for these ordnance weapons. So it looks like all the weapons are covered on there. 1 wheel, 2 wheels. We'll soon find out. You got some of your crates here as well to put on your bases. Got a shell there with the Aquila on it. The symbol. Very cool. Let's have a quick look. So actually, there we go. So there's a complete sprue of one. Because we've got the same sprue there, but then you've got the second sprue here with like the main weapon platform part. All your different crew members. Look like there's loads of different options with different arms and different poses that they can be in, and sort of arming your ordnance weapons. You've got more shells there. Again, lots of different heads, which are all going to be interchangeable. Them up here. So somewhere in this box, we must have the second half of that other sprue as well. Haven't come across that yet. Or maybe actually, because you've got the two bases there. So actually, it looks like those two there with that will make you two ordnance platforms. So actually, it looks like it might just be those 3 sprues. Moving on to the next sprue, we've got a sprue of shock troops here, and look at the amount of options on this. So we've got like sandbags by the looks of it. Must be for backpacks and stuff. Loads of different heads, different poses of las guns. You've got a few special weapons on here. I think I can definitely see a flamer. We've got a multi-melter on there. So a few different options. Chainsword, plasma gun. Very nice detail kit. So got that one sprue there. And then I would assume that this sprue is identical. Certainly looks like it. So there are your 2 squads of shock troops. Looks like there's lots of variety on those. As is quite common with these big army boxes and battle boxes, you get a piece of card which separates your sprues from your other gubbins. This one has a really impressive shot of the new Solar, can't remember what his name is, Solar something, the leader of basically the guard, so apologies, I've got his name completely wrong there. That is a really nice shot, but it also has a different image on the reverse. We've got a Catagen fighting what looks to be some demons there. Old Bloodletter. It's very cool. Very, very cool. I've been meaning to, I've got loads of these from different battle boxes I've been meaning to get framed and up in the hobby room. And I can see one of these sides definitely making it onto the walls. So that's very cool. So that's one half of the box. We then have the second half, starting with a chunky pack of data cards, which we're going to have a close look at in a second once we get that unwrapped. We've got some bases, all your models. We have got the gorgeous, absolutely stunning Codex. Look at that cover. That is a thing of beauty. We're going to be reviewing this later on in this video, so I'm not going to spend much time on it now, apart from to say that is epic. That looks so nice. Oh yes. Codex Astra Militarum. Yep, looking forward to cracking that open properly. But that's not all. We've also got some bigger bases. We've got 3 of those for your field ordnance guns. We also have a brand new Cadian transfer sheet. So that's very cool. It's the same one you get with the car skins from the Shadow Vaults box. And then finally, we've got the instructions. So we'll have a quick flick through this. It's quite a meaty tome, as we've got quite a few models in here to build. All the contents, telling you which sprues are which, all your different base sizes, telling you about your transfers. These are really quite handy, so you can check which base you've got there. You can just sit the base on top and it'll tell you which size it is. And then it talks you through all your different build options. So for example, your commander, there's 3 different builds here. But what I would say is, although you've got 3 different builds there, you could probably build your own. All these parts seem to be interchangeable, all the different heads and stuff, so you could probably make quite a unique looking commander. You've got options here as well. Again, different ways you can build your troopers for your command squad, veteran guardsmen. Then you move on to your shock troops. So you've got your shock troop sergeant, different builds there at the top. Again, you could probably play around a little bit and make your own. Obviously have a look at the Codex first, see what's legal for you to do. Weapons wise, again, different options on how you build these. And obviously you've got 2 units of those. You've got your field ordnance batteries. So this tells you how to build those. Choose the variant you want to build. They look pretty straightforward. So you get to like that stage. And then choose which one you want to go with. Either the big field gun, the rockets, or the heavy las cannon. Yeah, like that, you can tilt up and down, that's cool. Yeah, looks pretty straightforward. You've got a sergeant there as well, so you have a sergeant in the unit. That's ace. Check that out in the rules. And then you've got your sentinel, so you can choose to have built as a scout or an armoured. I'm really torn on what to do. Pros and cons to both. Quite like the chainsaw on the scout, but more tempted, I think, towards the armoured. Choosing which way you want the legs to go. Then how you go about building your sentinel. The guy inside. Your different weapon options there. Hunter-killer missiles, balance for all your different little gubbins that you can put on the side, especially on the scout one. And there you would have your finished contents of the box. So yeah, very, very cool. And there's some painted versions there as well on the back. So all in all, a very, very cool box. I'm really looking forward to getting my teeth into getting this all built. We are going to have some examples of some models built and hopefully painted at the end of this video. But before we get building, we're going to review this. So I'm going to go away, have a read of this, and in some video magic, I'll be back to review it. So hold on to those brews. Okay, so we've now unboxed the contents of the Cadia Stands box. It is time to delve into the Codex properly. And first and foremost, I may have already mentioned this being part of the video, can't remember, but look at that artwork. It's such a glorious, glorious Codex. It has a real nice texture to it. I'm not very good at describing those kind of things, but it feels high quality. It's really, really nice. We've also got the new Rogal Dawn on the back and the new Soldier General. Can't remember his full name. We'll find out as we go through the book. On the front cover, really nice book. It's almost worth getting the box on for this. It's so good, so nice. So let's go through it. We'll go through page by page. I'm not going to stop and talk about every single change because I don't unfortunately have a copy of the current guard book to hand. But I'll go through every page to be able to check out its full contents anyway. Speaking of, obviously the contents of the book is there, and an introduction, which is especially good if you've never played the army before. Now, like with all my videos, I'm not going to go through all of the lore in this book because you're going to want to read it for yourself. But rest assured, whether or not you are a returning guardsman or brand new to the army, there's plenty to get your teeth into here. Plenty of inspiration, giving you the backstory of the Guard, what they're all about. And it does also go into detail on what's going on with the Guard in the current time set. So obviously we've got the fall of Cadia that happened at the end of last edition, and it goes into the Indomitus era. So lots of stuff that's currently going on in the current edition of the game. It also gives you backgrounds on the main regiments. We've got Cadia. We've got I can't remember what these guys are called. Mordans, Catchins, giving you a bit of background. Some different war zones. So just very quickly going through these first few pages. Talks about each of the different tanks that you've got available to you. Another war zone there. More info on infantry regiments. Scions, because they are still in the book. And the way you can run these now, I mean, we'll go through it properly when we get to their data sheets, is you can still run just the Tempestuous... Tempestuans? I'm just going to call them Scions. You can run your own Scions army. But we'll go through that when we get to the data sheets. A third war zone there, talking about Armageddon. Obviously, this has been on Warcom. 2 pages in regards to Yarrick. Again, I'm not going to go into full detail here, but it's a bit of an interesting read. Is he gone? Is Yarrick dead? I don't know. I think he could come back. It doesn't really state who kills him. Yeah, take it with a pinch of salt. But needless to say, he's unfortunately not in the book. I think we might be getting a new model and a new data sheet in the future. Maybe in the next book, who knows. Then you've got some inspirational artwork showing painted guardsmen. What you can do with yours. We've missed a page there. New heavy weapons teams, new field ordnance. The new Rogal Dawn, which is absolutely glorious. Cannot wait to pick one of those up. Your new command squad, your new commissar. Your new Rough Riders. There he is, Lord Commander Solar, Arcadian Leontus. Yeah, he's cool. And new Creed as well there. And of course, got a couple of science pages as well. So we've very quickly gone through that part of the book. Like I've said previously, look, you're going to want to read them for yourself if you're really interested in the lore and learning more about the Guard. What you're really here for is the changes to the army and the data sheets and the rules and all that sort of stuff. So that's what we're going to move on to next. All of the juicy rules. Actually, before we do that, this page is always interesting. So this is talking about what a combat patrol army might look like. And it's basically, it is the contents of the Cadia Stands box. Now, based on other codexes, I would hazard a guess that this is actually going to be your combat patrol when it comes out. So it'll be everything in the Cadia Stands box apart from the cards, and the Codex. Right, rules. So, detachment abilities. This page is if you're purely building a guard army. So, no soup, no anything like that. A pure guard army where you've got all the right keywords. Except, obviously, you can take some unaligned and some agents of Imperium, for example, Inquisitors, Assassins, light view of Imperium armies. So, what do you get as a bonus if you do take a fully 100% guard army? First and foremost, the main mechanic is the regimental doctrine. So the basic regimental doctrine is your born soldiers. Now, from the datasheet, those who have played guard currently will know that any 6s auto wound with range firepower at the moment, that is still here under the born soldiers regimental doctrine. So if you just go with the standard doctrine, you get that 6s that hit, unmodified 6s auto wound. Still very powerful. You also get a bit of a morale boost as well as like a secondary buff to that doctrine. So that's very strong. You can, however, trade this in for 2 other doctrines, which we're going to come to in a moment on the next page. So that's your main thing. You also, this is where you can make your full Scion army. So if every unit in your army has the Tempestuous, the Commissar keyword or the Auxiliary keyword, then your Scions jump from elites to troops. So that obviously allows you to have your HQs and your troops for your Scions. And thirdly, all your troops in a Astra Militarum army gain the objective secure rule, which is pretty standard. I wouldn't call this a downside, but for fluffy reasons, you also get this rule called Chain of Command. So it basically means that if you have got an officer keyworded model in your army, that has to be your Warlord. If you don't, fine, you can make another character a Warlord. But if at least one of them has a Warlord keyword, they have to be your HQ. Now, if you have a Commandant keyworded unit, so they're like your company commanders, they have to have the Warlord. They have to be your Warlord. Unless you've got the Lord Solar in your army, in which case he has to be your Warlord. So it's very fluffy. You're not going to have Bob the Sergeant Guardsman running an army when you've got a company commander on the battlefield. You know, for fluffy reasons, I can see why they've done that, and I completely agree. It's right. That's how it should be played. It's the same with Primarchs. With all these armies with Primarchs, if you're going to take that Primarch is your Warlord. They're not going to take orders from anybody else. Absolutely makes sense to me. So yeah, so you get the Born Soldiers as a standard doctrine, but you can trade it in and take 2 of these. And as powerful as Auto Wound on 6s is, there are some tasty choices within these 2 pages. For example, Mechanized Infantry. All your units in your army gain the Mechanized keyword. Units of this doctrine can disembark from transport model, excluding aircraft, so no Valkyries, after that model has made a normal move. But if they do so, such units cannot be selected to move again this phase, and neither they nor the transport model are eligible to declare a charge. Fine. I always think it's weird that you can't get out of transport after it's moved. You have to get out of transport before it moves. However, this allows you to disembark after it's moved, which, although you cannot charge, as a guardsman, you're not really going to want to charge. You're going to want to shoot, and that there's no problem with that. You can fire to your heart's content. So that's quite good, especially if you're taking a lot of troops in Chimeras or Tauroxes. We've got elite sharpshooters. So units with this doctrine gain the elite sharpshooters rule. Each time a unit with this doctrine is selected to shoot, they can reroll 1 hit roll when resolving the unit's attacks, which is not bad. What else have we got here? Grim Demeanor. Each time a combat attrition test is taken, the unit, you can ignore any modifiers to combat attrition test, which is good. There is one here which is good for Here we go. Death Corps of Krieg fans might like this. Expert Bombardiers. Units of this doctrine gain the Expert Bombardiers keyword. Each time an artillery model with this doctrine makes a range attack, if the target of that attack is within 12 inches of and visible to a friendly Voxcaster or Sentinel unit, add 1 to the attack's hit roll. In the datasheet currently, Guard ignore the -1 to hit stuff if you can't see it. So if you've got like your mortars firing out of line of sight, in the current datasheet you are hitting on your normal ballistic scale, whereas everything else is -1 because they can't see it. Now they've lost that in this book, so you would be back to -1 to hit, but with this that would then push you back up if you're firing out of line of sight. So it's quite a good kind of swap out. So there's some good ones here that you know, especially if you tailor your army. Death Corps fans might not be a big fan of like Auto-16s, but they might want to take something like this and mechanized infantry, for example. It really allows you to make the flavour of Guard that you want to play and collect, which is always good. So that's your big main key mechanic if you decide to take a fully sort of not souped Imperium army, a proper Guard army. We next have 4 pages of stratagems. Love them or hate them, here they are. For the most part, they are very good, and there are a couple that will probably never see use. You've got your usual, you know, select a different Warlord trait for different characters. You can have multiple Warlord traits, multiple artifacts, they're back. What I do also like is you've got one called Field Promotion, which allows you, once your Warlord dies, you can then promote somebody else during the battle to be your Warlord, which is very, very cool. Very fitting for a Guard army. Stuff like Vengeance for Cadia is back. Some of them have changed the actual rules, even though the name's the same. In this case, you select a Cadian unit from your army or a platoon unit from your army that is itself within 6 inches of a friendly Cadian officer. If it's selected to shoot or fight until the end of the phase, each time a model in the unit makes a range attack against a Chaos unit, you add 1 to the wound roll. So I think that used to give you full rerolls. Still quite good though. A couple of these are specifically for Cadia. But interestingly, there were a couple that pick out some of the doctrines. For example, you may remember I've just mentioned Elite Sharpshooters doctrine that you can take. Experienced Eye for 1 CP. If you've taken that doctrine, you can use this stratagem. You select 1 Carskin or Elite Sharpshooters core unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you improve the AP value by 1, which is really good. I really like that. So you select a Carskin, and you know, if you've taken Born Survivors, for example, or with everything gains the Elite Sharpshooters keyword, if you take that doctrine, so you pick a core unit such as infantry, you're improving the AP. So yeah, very powerful. So yeah, you've got some really nice strats. Just one other one on this page that I'm just going to pick out. Use the stratagem in your shooting phase when a core unit from your army is selected to shoot. Until the end of that phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack against the closest eligible target, if that model disembarked from a transport model at that turn, you can re-roll the wound roll, which is really good, especially when combined with that doctrine that allows you to get out of your transports after the transport has moved. You know, you're really aggressive, you know, drive the transports up, jump out, use this, and as long as you're shooting the closest eligible target, full re-rolls to wound is very powerful. What do we got on the second page? So we've got some other cool stuff on here. Sticking with the transport one though, for 2 CP, you've got this one called Mount Up. You use the stratagem in your shooting phase. After a mechanized, going back to that doctrine keyword, or Scion's infantry unit from your army has shot, if every model in that unit is within 3 inches of a friendly transport model, that infantry unit can then jump back in. So here's the third part of our combo. So you take a mechanized doctrine, so you got all those keywords in your army. You then shoot your transports up. You disembark after the transport's moved. 1 unit gets to be able to have full re-rolls to wound, and then for 2 CP you can dive back into your transport, which is very, very cool. Orbital Interference, again 2 CP. Use the stratagem at the start of your reinforcement step of your opponent's movement phase if an officer of the fleet model from your army is on the battlefield. If it is the first or second battle round, you can select one of your opponent's strategic reserve or reinforcement units. That unit cannot arrive on the battlefield this phase for any reason, even if it has another rule that states it always arrives on the battlefield during a specific battle round. Example, drop pod assault. You can only use this stratagem once. How much would that mess with your opponent? Going, no, you're not bringing down that unit of Terminators. Nah, you're going to have to wait a turn. That's absolutely going to mess up some people's strategies, especially if they don't know you've got that in your back pocket. 2 CP is quite expensive, especially with sort of, if you're taking Warlord traits and relics at the moment in match play, you're really restricted on how much CP you've got to spend. However, that could be invaluable. And I think that's a really good stratagem. So yeah, that's just a couple of examples there, but there are some other good ones in here as well. Smoke launchers returns, which is great. Tank Aces return from Psychic Awakening. So at the moment we are trading in a Warlord trait to take these. Much better now. Every army seems to have some sort of upgrade mechanic. For example, your Space Marines, I've got your Chapter Command where you can upgrade a company commander to a Chapter Master. Tank Aces is the Guard version. So you've got several different skills and you've got points values if you're putting them on battle tanks or if you're going to put them on super heavies. Obviously the super heavies are slightly more expensive, but there are some really cool ones on this page. For example, Knight of Piety will give your model a 5+ invulnerable save, and each time this model would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll 1d6 on a 5+, that wound is not lost. I feel no pain on your tanks is amazing, especially if you put that on something like a Shadow Sword, a Baneblade. I mean, obviously it's, 35 points on a super heavy, 25 points on a Lehman Russ or Rogal Dawn, but that's really good. Mechanical Pack Rat. Each time an attack is made against this model, an unmodified wound roll of 1 to 3 automatically fails, irrespective of any abilities. It's good old transhuman on the tank. That's also very, very strong. So some really tasty tank aces here. And there's no limit. As long as you got the points, you can put each of these on a different tank. Obviously, you're going to be then restricting what you take in the rest of your army. And you cannot duplicate. So you can't have 3 Lehman Russes with the Pack Rat, for example. There's 1 per army. But that's much better having as a points instead of like trading in Warlord traits and stuff. That just didn't make sense. Psychic Discipline returns. Now, I can't remember really what the options were in the previous book, but from my memory, I don't think these have really changed. Obviously, you're looking at the page now, you may have noticed some differences. Night Shroud is definitely changed, I think. I say definitely, and I think, I'm very confident. It's a blessing as a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select your friendly guard unit within 12 inches of the Psyche. And it basically gives them transhuman. I'm pretty sure that previously gave them -1 to hit. Again, apologies if I'm wrong, but I think that's better now, giving them transhuman. They're pretty tasty. Gaze of the Emperor dishes out mortal wounds between 1 and D3, depending on your roll. It's not a bad discipline. It's pretty cool. I don't think it makes Psychers a must-have in a guard army, but there's some nice choices here. This one's cool. Psychic Maelstrom. So it has a warp charge of 6. You roll a d6 equal to the result of the psychic test for each 5+. The closest enemy unit is within 18 inches and visible to the Psyche, suffers 1 mortal wound. So that's pretty good. So if you roll, say for example, a 9, you roll 9 dice, and on a 5+, you deal a mortal wound to a maximum of 6. That's pretty tasty, as long as you roll high enough in your psychic test, of course. But that's quite good. Warlord traits. So obviously we've said about tank aces, and you're probably more likely going to be taking a Warlord trait now. And again, you've got some good ones here. So All Grudges returns. This is a popular one to put on your tank commander. At the start of your first battle round, select 1 enemy unit. Until the end of that battle, the Warlord gains the following ability. All grudges, it's an aura. While a friendly platoon or battle tank squadron unit is within 6 inches of this Warlord, each time a model in that friendly unit makes an attack against that enemy unit, you add 1 to the wound roll. So if there's something that just has to die in your opponent's army, absolutely you've got a grudge against them. I can see Grand Strategist being a popular one. Gives you a CP back on a 5+ when you spend a command point. Frontline Combatant is funny, if a little bit, probably not for the Guard. Makes your Warlord a machine in combat. So unmodified hit rolls of 6 scores 2 additional hits, and you add 1 to the wound roll. So suddenly you've got a commander that might want to get into combat. So yeah, some really cool ones there. Obviously, you've got a table here for your name characters. They get locked into their specific Warlord traits. You've got some Scion Warlord traits here if you're taking a purely Scions army. The first one, Drill Commander, is okay, but these two are pretty cool. So precision targeting. While a friendly Scions infantry unit is within 6 inches of the Warlord, each time a model in that unit makes a range attack, the target does not gain any cover, which is really cool. And uncompromising prosecution. While a friendly Scion infantry unit is within 6 of the Warlord, each time a model in that unit makes a range attack, that targets a unit within half range, improve the AP by 1. So a couple of nice Warlord traits there for your Scion fans. But it'd be good to see people taking these again instead of tank cases, which is pretty cool. We then have a few relics. Nothing absolutely game-breaking here, but there are some tasty options. You've got these ones on this page, and they've got a random piece of artwork of a commissar there, and they've got a couple more here. We've got a relic pistol for your commander, strength 4, -1 AP, 2 damage, ignores lookout sir, and also a wound roll of 6 inflicts a mortal wound as well, which is quite tasty. A Death Mask, which gives models in the bearer's unit a 4+ invulnerable save. Kill of the Quill is back, but it's changed. So once per battle now, after your opponent uses a stratagem, excluding command point rerolls, the bearer can use this relic. If it does so until the end of the battle, the command point cost your opponent must pay to use that stratagem is increased by 1. So we mentioned earlier, obviously CP is quite a... You don't have lots of them anymore in match play, so this could be quite a key strat, especially with if your enemy has a stratagem that they intend to use every battle round. They've got quite a powerful stratagem. Increasing it by 1 for the rest of the game is great, really powerful. We've got a few more here. I quite like this. I like pistol relics though. The Emperor's Fury, replace the plasma pistol, range 12. It's 3 shots, strength 8, -3 AP, flat damage 2. Pew pew. That's really nice. Talon fans, you've got the Claw of the Desert Tiger. It replaces the Power Sword or Power Saber. It's +2 strength, -3 AP, damage 2. And you also get some extra attacks with it as well. I've got another relic sword here as well. Or it's a relic chain sword, sorry. Legacy of Calandius. Strength +1, AP -2, damage 2. And you get 3 additional attacks with that one as well. Relic lost Cadia is back. Gatekeeper is your only tank relic. So that replaces a standard battle cannon. It's very good though. It's D3 + 6 shots. It's strength 9, -3 AP, and flat damage 3. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to be taking that. And I think a lot of people will be taking that, actually. It's quite a powerful one, that one. And so we move into the data sheets part of the book. There are a few things to tidy up, first of all. You've got... Well, let's do this first. Voice of command. So this has been buffed considerably. So issuing out commands has always been a thing with the Guard. However, it's been improved in this edition. So it's been improved by you've got 3 sets of orders now, which we'll come to in a moment. And also, when you issue a command to a unit, it's not only that unit that gets the command, but also a unit next to them within 3 inches. They also get it. which is really, really cool. And that works on tank ones as well, as long as your tank's part of a squadron. So if you've got a squadron of Leman Russes, then potentially you can issue a command to 2 of those Leman Russes in one in one voice, which is very, very cool. So I really like that. In the short time I've had this book, since speaking to other people, they think that might actually be changed. I don't think so. I think it is powerful, but I can't see it being changed really. It uses examples here, so let's just run through this. Officers can use orders in your command phase. The types of order an officer knows and a number they can issue are described on their datasheet. Regimental and Prefectus orders select 1 friendly platoon unit within 6. Mechanized orders select 1 friendly squadron within 12. A unit can only be affected by 1 order at any time. Also, if you've got an officer in a transport, when they disembark in the movement phase, they actually still get to issue an order as well. So if you're starting the game and you're worried you're not going to be able to issue out any orders in the first shooting phase because they're all in Chimeras, for example, or Valkyries, they're still going to be able to jump out and issue orders, which is very, very cool. So that's always command. We're going to come on to the different orders in a second. But before we move off this page, there's something else which is really important, and that's turret weapons. So turret weapons now, let's not beat around the bush, they're +1 to hit. So you've got your standard Leman Russ, which has a ballistic skill of 4+, with its main turret weapon, whatever that is, a demolisher cannon, a battle cannon, a punisher cannon, whatever, that is now hitting on 3s. Amazing. So good. Also, as previously when a tank was in combat, it could only shoot the unit it was in combat with. Not anymore with your turret weapons on your Leman Russes and such. They can now fire at a different unit. So all your side sponsors and stuff and your hull mounted weapons, yes, they're firing against the unit in combat with, but your big battle cannon isn't going to be wasted. It's going to fire over the combat and hit whatever else you want it to hit. So that is really, really cool. You are subtracting 1 from hit rolls with that, but fine. It's still really good, especially for tank company armies. So yeah, that's really, really cool. So here are those orders. So you got the regimental orders, which are typically given out by your castellans, commanders. You got your prefectus orders, which are coming from your commissars, and you've also got mechanized as well, which is going to come from your tanks. Now there are different characters that can actually issue all 3 of these or 2 of these, and you've also got different traits and stratagems and stuff which allow you to do different orders from different tables. So for example, there'll be ways to do these prefectus orders without actually having a commissar, although having a commissar is probably easier, and it may work out as the most efficient way of doing it. So the regimental orders are very similar to what we know already. So take aim though, well actually this one's changed. Until the end of your next shooting phase, each time a model in that unit makes a range attack, you add 1 to the hit roll and improve the armor penetration by 1. Amazing. First rank fire, second rank fire, another popular one. Until the end of your next shooting phase, change the type of all lasguns and hotshot lasgun models to heavy free, which is very good. Suppression fire, I think, is a new one. Until next shooting phase, you select 1 enemy infantry unit is visible to it. If you do so, models in that unit can only make attacks against that enemy unit that phase. Fine. If the user unit scores 5 or more hits against that enemy unit, then until the end of your opponent's next turn, that enemy unit is suppressed. While the unit is suppressed, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you subtract 1 from the hit roll. So basically it means you're not splitting fire. So say you choose a unit of guardsmen, you choose an enemy unit, you declare all your shots against that enemy unit. This can come into play, and as long as you score 5 or more hits, the unit's suppressed, and then -1 to hit until the next turn. Very good. Prefectus orders, a couple of tasty ones here. For example, duty and honor. Until the next command phase, this unit can perform actions in a turn in which it fell back or advanced, and it can shoot without any action, without any actions it's performing failing. Very good. Forwards for the Emperor. Until the end of your next shooting phase, when this unit is selected to shoot, if it made a normal move or advance in your previous movement phase, then until the end of that shooting phase, it counts as having stayed stationary. I think I've read that slightly wrong, but basically it means that you can advance up and still shoot your full ballistic skill, which is excellent. I'd like to see more commissars. I'm definitely going to be taking the commissar in my army. I think they're a really cool model and you don't see enough of them. So then you've got your tank orders. So some really good ones here. Gunners kill on sight until your next shooting phase. Each time model in this unit makes a range attack, you reroll your hit rolls of 1. Shock and Awe gives that unit that you've issued this command to objective secured for a turn. Yeah, some really strong orders there. And like I say, you don't necessarily need a tank commander to issue those as well. And so we move on to the actual data sheets themselves, and it starts with, of course, the new Lord Solar. So not only being a fantastic model, he also has a pretty tasty data sheet as well. So he's no slouch in combat, but it's from his utility of which he really sort of shines. So you can pick a unit and give them full rerolls to hit. He has an aura which allows your core units to reroll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1, which is very good. Oh, sorry, I've just read that. I've just said that one. He can give a unit full rerolls to hit, but actually, if you select a core unit, they also get rerolls to wound as well, which is very cool. He's got a 4+ invulnerable save and he's halving damage. And you can also swap out orders and secondary objectives. He knows all 3 of your orders, so he could give mechanized orders if he wants to, and he can do 3 of them. So yeah, I think he's going to be quite a popular one to take. I mean, it's a gorgeous model, absolutely gorgeous. Ursula Creed, obviously taking the place of her father. She's also very good. She has a 5+ invulnerable save. She still has a reroll 1 aura. She can do rerolls twice per phase instead of just the once. But this is her strongest ability, the Lord Castellan's Fury. Each time this model issues an order to a unit, until the start of your next command phase, each time a model in that unit makes a range attack, you add 1 to the strength. Note that the ability only affects the ongoing target of that order and not any additional units. So earlier on I mentioned about if you issue an order to a unit, it then bounces to the next unit as well. This adding 1 to the strength only affects the unit that you initially gave the command to, not the unit that bounced onto as well. And as you'd expect, she can also issue 3 orders. However, she only knows regimental. The Cadia Castellan is the new model that's coming, so he's kind of your standalone commander. Again, he knows regimental orders, and he's got reroll 1s to hit aura. So he's cool. I think there is a Warlord trait or something that gives him extra orders though. So he might be quite a popular one to take with like mechanized orders. To dish out to tanks if you don't want to take a tank commander, which we're going to move on to next. Now, tank commanders have always been really popular. I can see their use dipping though, purely down to the fact that you've got other ways of giving tanks orders. You don't necessarily have to have a commander. They're no longer hitting on 3s, they're hitting on 4s. Obviously, they are hitting on 3s with the turret weapons, as we mentioned at the beginning of the datasheet section. But that's it, really. I can see more people taking like your Castellans and your command squad on foot, and then taking squadrons of Lehman Russes rather than going for a tank commander. But yeah, he can issue 1 mechanized order, so you know he still has his usage, but he just doesn't get that bonus to his hitting anymore, which is a shame. I kind of wish that I'd said it a 3+, but then that would obviously make his turret weapons if on a hit on a 2. Maybe they didn't want that extra rule saying it doesn't affect tank commanders, so that's why they've dropped his ballistic skill. But there you go. He's got all the normal options on there. Obviously, all the Lehman Russ weapons, I think, have all improved. They don't get to fire twice anymore. You may have noticed that wasn't something we covered at the beginning of the datasheets or in any of the rules sections. So they can no longer do that, unfortunately. So that big stuff like the Punisher Gatling Cannon, obviously previously you get like 40 shots with that because you're firing to it twice. You're now only getting shot once, but it does have a pip of AP now. So the Punisher's still pretty cool. The one everybody's talking about is the Vanquisher, which is 1 shot, strength 14, minus 5 AP, D3 plus 6 damage, and it ignores invulnerable saves. GW like having a unit or ability or something in these recent books that ignores invulnerable save, and this is the Guard one. So that's very, very cool. The Humble Battle Cannon has changed. That is now 72-inch range, D6 plus 3 shots, strength 8, minus 2 AP, flat 3 damage. It's just, they're just all improved for the better. Armored Tracks allows you to add 1 to your armor saving throws if the attack that's coming at you is only damage 1. So small arms fire, you're getting +1 to your save. The Lumen Rust now has a built-in 2+ save. Armor Contempt is gone though. So that was something else that was on the data sheet. All your tanks had Armor Contempt. That's gone from this now. But you do get your 2+ save, and there is this allowing you to add 1 to your saves if it's only damage 1. Platoon Command Squad is one way you can take a command squad. Your alternative way is a Cadian one, which is the new kit. They're both very similar though. Aside from the Cadian one, obviously comes the Cadian keyword. There are a couple of stratagems where if you're issuing out orders from a Cadian officer, you get benefits. I haven't really noticed any other changes to those. I think we get both the same weapon loadouts. Again, apologies if I'm wrong, but they're very, very similar. Strachan returns for your captains, or you can take them in any guard army now, so you can mix your different regiments. So you can have captain units with Cadians, with Death Corps, whatever you want. It's good to see he's back. You got your Primaris Psyker. No real changes there from, again, what I can see. Gaunt's Ghosts now have their own datasheet in the Codex because their box obviously came out after the last book. No changes there that I can see either. Quite a tasty army actually. I've got a unit of these I need to build and paint. I bought them purely to build and paint because I like the novels, but now I'm building a guard army. I actually might make use of them as well, especially for like narrative games. Your next part is cool. So we have a little bit of a different kind of look about these next 2 pages. These are models that you can add to your command squad. So they're not their own individual units. They instead join your command squad, whether it be your Cadian command squad or your platoon command squad. Your Master of Ordnance, Officer of the Fleet, Astropath, Bodyguard, and Nork, who's a named Ogrim Bodyguard. So these are pretty cool. They all have their own abilities. For example, the Master of Ordnance in your command phase, that 1 enemy unit within 30 inches invisible to this model until the start of your next command phase. Each time a friendly artillery model makes a range attack, you can reroll a hit roll of 1, which is very cool. Your Officer of the Fleet now in your command phase, that 1 enemy unit within 30 inches invisible to the model until the start of your next command phase. Each time a friendly Aeronautic Imperialis, like Valkyrie, for example, makes a range attack against that enemy unit, you reroll a hit roll of 1. Lots of ways of getting rerolls. Your Astropath now has a psychic action, which allows you to gain a command point. That's really good because there are quite a few nice stratagems. I'm definitely tempted to add one of these to my command squad. Would have been previously, but getting an extra command point could be really, really cool. And you get your bodyguards as well, which is ace. Infantry squad and your Cadian shock troops. So infantry are your normal sort of guardsmen as we know them now, and the models that have been around for years. They can still take heavy weapon platforms, and they can take 1 special weapon per infantry squad. Cadian shock troops, on the other hand, They cannot take heavy weapon platforms. However, they get to take an extra special weapon. So they could take, for example, 2 plasma rifles, 2 plasma guns if they wanted to. So that's cool. But also the shock troops, they get another rule. When you shoot with a las gun or las pistol, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. Now, I assume if you take Born Survivors, the main doctrine, that won't automatically, that second hit won't automatically wound. You'll just have to roll to wound as normal. I assume that'll be FAQ'd, but that's how I'd play it anyway. I wouldn't say that both of those hits auto wound. That'd be too much. Your Death Corps have got their own unique data sheet in here. Takes advantage of the fact they've got all these different options on their kill team kits. So they've got their own medi packs and stuff that they can have in their own units. Makes them good at kind of like being on the flank on their own without any orders and stuff. They can kind of be their own little unit, which is very cool. You've also got Catch Jungle Fighters as well. They're a little bit tougher than your general guardsmen. And Slime Arbo's back as well. He's had a bit of a buff across his different weapons and things. Casket are back. They weren't in the previous book, but now we've got a nice shiny new kill team kit. They get their day in the sun in the book, and they're very good. I think these are going to be competing against Scions, but they each have their sort of pros and cons. Now, unlike the Death Corps, although you've got like a medi pack on the sprue for these guys, there's no rules for that, which is a shame. I would have liked to have seen all the different Carskin options that are available in the kill team also be on the data sheet. They aren't. Although you have got your sniper rifle and your melter mines as well, which are on the sprue. But shame there's nothing for the medi pack that you get. But still a very strong unit. They're hitting on freeze. I think these are going to be quite tasty. Your preachers, they've changed a little bit, but I don't think many people take those. You don't really see many guardsmen willingly charging into combat unless it's for tactical reasons. Sergeant Harker's back, a catching character, but again, nothing stopping you from taking him with your normal guard units, although he does buff a unit of Catch and Jungle Fighters. So I am tempted to pick this guy up and a unit of Jungle Fighters and kind of convert them. Maybe make them into the guys from the original Predator film and have them as part of my army. I think that could be quite cool. They're called the Harkers Hellraisers, which is very cool. You've got an engineer that you can now take in the elite slot. He can repair your vehicles. You also can give a vehicle a 5+ invulnerable save, which is pretty cool. Your commisses here. So as before, he can execute a guardsman to keep stop them from failing morale. And you can also now take a commiss without taking a force organization slot, as long as you've got a command and command squad. It becomes like a free take. Well, obviously you pay the points, but he doesn't take up an elite slot, which is pretty cool. He can no longer take a power fist, which is a shame. I've got a classic commissar with power fist and power sword. He no longer has the option to take a power fist, which is a shame. You got Ogrins as well there. Got the new Rough Riders. They're very good. Glass Cannony. They got 4+ save. But they'd be really good on the flanks charging in, especially with those melter tipped lances. +2 strength, -4 AP, flat 3 damage. Very good. Bulgrin's back. They're just as good as they were before. You do different type of sentinels. They can both take the same weapon loadouts. Basically comes down to the save difference. So a scout only has a 4+, where your armored has a 3+. The scout one is quicker. It's got extra movement. It's got a 12-inch move. And it also, during deployment, you can set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from enemy deployment zones and any models. So if you had like a couple of those, that'd be good to kind of put early pressure on your opponent. You can't take them in squadrons anymore, though. The only thing you can take in squadrons is your Lehman Russes. So if you wanted 3 Scout Sentinels, they'd be taking up 3 fast attack slots. You couldn't squadron them up. Same with the armoured. unfortunately. The armoured one, each time a range attack with a damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to the model, you add 1 to the armour saving throws, similar to that armoured rule for the Lumen Russes that you could take. And like I say, they both have the same weapon choices. The Hellhound's back, and we've got the new Rogel Dawn battle tank, which is an absolute beast with 17 wounds, lots of weapons. A lot of people talking about the suppression cannon, which is D6 plus 3 shots, strength 10, -3, flat 4 damage, very tasty. Pulverizer cannon, 24, heavy D6, strength 6, -2, flat 3. Twin battle cannon, heavy 2d6, strength 8, -3, flat 3 damage. Yeah. I'm definitely going to be wanting to take one of these. And you can also give it the armor tracks, the same as Lumen Russes, so that any models, any damage 1 attacks that are hitting it, you're gaining +1 to your save. And again, it's getting a 2+ save like your Lumen Russ. Heavy weapons teams have returned. You've got your new field ordnance batteries, of which you get 2 in the Cadia Stands box. You've got the field gun, which is a heavy D6, 48-inch range, ignores line of sight, strength 7, -2, flat 2 damage. And my personal favourite is the rocket launcher, which is a 48-inch range, heavy D6 +6, strength 6, -1, just 1 damage. But great at annihilating some, I don't know, enemy guardsmen, for example, or orcs. Would be really cool. You get a lot of shots. Again, you don't take these in squadrons, so each of those field ordnance batteries is its own unit. So if you wanted, all 3 of them, for example, if you wanted a heavy las cannon, a field gun, and a rocket launcher, there'd be 3 different units. Luminous Battle Tank is probably the best unit in the book. The only one that you can take in squadrons are 3, or squadrons at all, in fact. You can take 3 under 1 slot, taking full advantage of all your mechanised orders. We've already spoken about the weapon options on the Tank Commander. They're all here as well on your Luminous Battle Tanks. 13 wounds, 2+ save. Armour Contempt's gone, but they've got the option of having armoured tracks. Yeah, they're just going to be ace. I think we're going to see lots of tanks. I know I've already got 4 or 5 built that I need to paint. With various different cannon loadouts, which, to be honest, I don't think there's really a Duff cannon. Maybe the Nova cannon, maybe the auto cannon, but the rest of them all have their sort of pros and cons. It's really cool to see how good these tanks are now. Basilisk is back, as is the Hydra. I don't think there's any real major changes there with those 2 units. Again, apologies if I'm wrong. Manticore and Wyvern. The Manticore's obviously unfortunately lost that. I think it was a full payload, which was a tank case upgrade, which allowed it to, instead of having the full amount of shots, you now have to roll. There's no way of not rolling, but it is now D6 +3. Which is very cool. Death Strike has changed. Now what you do is you choose from one of 3 different warheads before the game starts. In your first shooting phase, you start an action, and at the end of your first turn, you basically pick a point on the battlefield. In your next shooting phase, you can choose for the missile to come down on that point. You may think, well, that's going to give your opponent plenty of chances to avoid that area. But say, for example, they need to capture an objective, you put the marker there, put it on the objective, and be like, okay, you want that objective, fine, come and get it. But in my next shooting phase, there's going to be, for example, a plasma barrage warhead landing on your head. This one's roll 1d6 for each unit within d3 +6 inches of the centre of the model's Death Strike target marker, subtracting 1 from the result if the unit is an infantry character. On a 2 to a 3, the unit suffers d3 +1 mortal wounds. On a 4 to a 5, you suffer 2 d3 mortal wounds. And on a lucky roll of a 6, you suffer d3 +3 mortal wounds. You then remove the marker. Then obviously in your next shooting phase, you would then perform the action again to put down a new marker. Look at this though. Godspear Warhead. Roll 1d6 for each unit within 3 inches of the centre of the model's Death Strike target marker. On a 2 to 3, that unit suffers 8 mortal wounds. On a 4 to 5, suffers 12 mortal wounds. And on a 6, the unit suffers 16 mortal wounds. But that's obviously within 3 inches of the centre of the marker, so gotta be really careful where you place that. I don't know if that's really a tactical choice, that missile, but I definitely want one. I think it's so cool. Such a massive missile on the back of it as well. The Chimera is back, as is the Taurox and the Valkyrie. Again, no major changes that I can see, but apologies if you're looking at this page now and going, Dave, that's changed. You've now got the Aegis defense line as part of your army book, which is actually really good. It's quite cheap, and you get the following traits: defense line, light cover, heavy cover, defensible. Each time a range attack is allocated to a model while it's receiving the benefits of cover from the strain feature, worsen the AP value by 1 as well. So actually, if you had like a command squad, maybe a couple of units of infantry, this might be quite a tasty thing to take in front of them, giving them sort of +1 to the saves. So if anybody charges them, then you get benefits. If you're already in cover, then you could be -1 to hit. It's I think I actually am quite tempted to paint some up and maybe try on a list or two. Could be quite a good idea. There they are. You can see them there on the picture. Then we move on to our super heavies. These have all had a little bit of a buff, rocking 30 wounds. I know a few people have been asking me about the Bane Blade Cannon. 72 inches, heavy 3d6, strength 9, -3, flat 3 damage. I mean, these are absolute monsters, aren't they? They automatically get the armor tracks as well. That's not a paid for upgrade. So they're +1 to the save if it's just a damage 1 hit weapon that's hitting them. So that's very cool. We've also got the Bane Hammer, the Bane Sword, the Doom Hammer, the Hell Hammer, the Shadow Sword, which is what I've personally got. Can't wait to use that. And the Stormlord. And your Storm Sword. And then, in a slightly different colour, you've got like a little mini Scion datasheet section at the back. So you've got your command squad here, which obviously takes a HQ slot. I don't think there's any major changes to these guys. Again, apologies if I'm wrong. They've got regimental orders that they can issue. You've got your Scions, which are an elite slot unless your army's completely full of Scions or Taurox Primes or Valkyries or Ogrins. Then obviously you can take them as a Scions army and these become troops. Taurox Prime is obviously still locked to the Scions. And there you go. They're all your data sheets. So we're getting towards the end of the book now. But we first come to the Crusade rules, which you'll have probably noticed is, if you've got other codexes, is now in a much better place after the data sheets. Previously, these were before the data sheets. They were kind of in the middle of like the match play rules and the data sheets. They've just, I don't know why they decided to put them there, but they're now in a much better place after the data sheets. And I've got to say, these are some fun Crusade rules. So you've got some standard battle traits here, which are cool. Won't go fully into details on those. They're kind of what you'd expect. But then we come to the actual key mechanics of a Crusade army for the Guard. The tours of duty. So with this, when you start your Crusade, you roll for the number of battles that you're going to have to complete that Crusade, or complete that tour of duty. So number of battles you will need to fight is a 2d3 plus 2. And then it tells you the number of victories you will require to complete, to win that tour of duty is d3 plus 2. During the course of this, you'll earn logistic points and commendation points. Logistic points are here. So you can divide them. It's basically to represent, you're just the Guard. You're not going to have all the best equipment all the time. You're going to be out on the sort of edge of your platoon's sort of range. So you're going to have plus, you might not have that much in the way of material, or your morale might be slightly low because you've not seen other humans for a while, for example. So I need to reread this fully because 100% get it yet. But I think it's got the potential to be a really cool mechanic to balance your army. Because I like the fact that there are some downsides if, for example, you don't issue much in the way of logistic points to say the tithe pool in your command phase. If your Warlord is not on the battlefield, you do not gain the Battleforge CP bonus. And you increase the supply limit requisition to 2 RPs, so it's harder to bring in new units. So that's got the potential to be really, really cool. I just need to reread it a little bit to completely understand how they work. But commendation points are cool. At the end of your tour of duty, you can spend your commendation points that you've earned during your battles to basically give medals, give honors to your units, which is, you know, what we get in the military, the real life military, isn't it? And each of these have different costs, and they have different buffs. So, for example, the Medal of Laudable Service costs 4 commendation points. You give it to a core unit. So 1 doctrine from pages 60-61. That unit has a doctrine in addition to any others it has. So say, for example, you have a Carskin unit which has done really well. You could maybe give them the Elite Sharpshooters doctrine in addition to other ones that they have. Order the Adamantium Chain only costs you 2. Each time this unit is marked for greatness, it gains an additional 2 experience points. That's some level up quicker. What else have we got? Star of Fidelity. Core unit only. Whilst unit is within 24 inches of a friendly commandant model, it is considered to be within range of the model's senior officer aura ability. Allows them to be a bit further away. Survivalist Commendation. Platoon unit only. Each time a model would lose a wound, roll 1d6 on 6 it's not lost, so 6 plus feel no pain. And Medallion Resolute gives you objective secured and add 1 to your combat attrition test. So these are really cool. I think it's going to make your Crusades really, really cool. Trying to collect these commendations and then issue them out at the end of your Crusade. And D3 plus, was it D3 plus 2? Isn't too many games either. Oh no, 2D3 plus 2. That's still not too many games to play out to make sure you're finishing your Crusades. But you're going to probably want to take multiple of them to take advantage of going into your next Crusade with these different medals and stuff. So I really like that. I really like these mechanics where they really think about the army and what suits it. Definitely suits the Guard. We have some agendas to help you build up your experience. These are a bit like secondary objectives that help your units gain experience, requisitions for them, adding stuff to your army, upgrading, giving you tanks, tank cases, uplifting prime. That's cool. So yeah, they're really good as well. And then you've got some unique Crusade relics. Some of these are quite tasty. You've got a named MK45, which is basically a bolt pistol, which becomes strength 4, -2 AP and flat damage 2, ignoring the lookout sir rule, and also subtracting 2 from leadership characteristic of your enemy that you've shot. So yeah, that's really cool. I'm not going to go through all of them because I know not everybody plays Crusade, but if you don't, you should really try it. Us guys at Prism Brews HQ, it's our chosen way of playing, really. And then you've got a massive name generator, so you've got different regiments and some inspiration for your names, and you've got some tank names there as well that you can roll up. An example of some Crusade armies. You've got Chris Peach here, formerly of GW, and his Ventrillion army, which is very cool, very feathery. And I was really proud of that army. He's looking forward to adding this new stuff as well. And then finally, we've got almost like your glossary. So you've got all your war gear, all summarised here with their abilities, ranges and such. All your points. You know, these are points as they are now. Obviously, we know with GW at the moment, we're balancing match play. These, you know, could change, but these are the current points values. And you've got your glossary of terms as well to help simplify everything that's going on in your army. And then a reference sheet there at the back. And that's the book. So I personally am a very big fan. I really like it. It feels very flavourful. There's a lot of buffs in here. I know there are a few grumblings online about not being able to like, a Cadian regiment and getting Cadian buffs. I actually much prefer the doctrines, and I think, you know, Guard, as we are in the galaxy at the moment, in the setting, they're going to be pulling from different regiments to refill the ranks. So you could imagine a Cadian army bringing in some Stratagems to help them in their fight wherever they are, whatever planet they're on. So I think that's quite fluffy, and I think that works. Everything that's been buffed is you know, is much improved in this book. Yeah, I just really like it, and I really like the Crusade mechanics as well. I think that's really good. I've been disappointed with some of the Crusade content in other codexes. I'm glad it's so good in this one. If you do prefer your reviews written, I have written a review over on Sprues and Brews as well. I'll pop a link to that in the description so you can check that out at your own leisure. But yeah, that is the Codex. So we're going to take another magical transition, and when we come back, hopefully I want to be able to show you some models from the box, built and potentially painted. We'll have to see. So yeah, let's take a quick pause and we'll be back with that. So for this final section of the video, we are going to look at some of the models from the box. Now, unfortunately, I've not had a chance to build and paint everything yet, but I have got a couple of examples to show you. So first of all, one of the first ones I wanted to build and paint is my company commander. He's going to be leading my army. I haven't given him a name yet. Oops, sorry for knocking the camera. But he is very cool. There's so many options for him. I was tempted to give him a power fist. Do I give him just a las pistol? Do I give him a bolt pistol? Do I give him a chainsword? But in the end, I decided for a power sword and plasma pistol. He is very, very cool. I really like his cap as well. There's a few different head options. There is a bare-headed one as well, but that's the one I decided to go for. So he's nearly finished. I've also built up and painted this guy from the command squad. So he's holding a pair of binoculars. He's got a bolt pistol. He's got a pretty cool backpack on. So he's just like a standard guy from my command squad. He's like my lookout guy. So he's cool. The other members of the command squad I haven't yet finished painting, but I hope to have them done soon. I have, however, started painting this as well. So this is the rocket field ordnance. I've left all the guys separate. I'm going to build and paint them. What I like about this is the little screen you've got here, which I need to finish painting yet. Never noticed that on the GW pictures, but it's really nice. Really nice to go together. I think I'm going to build the second one that came in the box as the field gun, the more typical kind of artillery gun. I know a few people have asked me about heads. We've got obviously we've got the company commander there. And I've also got a normal guardsman as well. No, not him. Here he is. So he's from an older set. I would say they're proportioned quite well. The heads look to be exactly the same size. I haven't tried them on tried to build a normal guards with one of the new heads and vice versa yet. But they look to me like the same size. So that's pretty cool. I know a few people have been asking me about that. Oh, one other thing that I have built as well, which is very cool, is a Sentinel. So I'm hoping to spray him tonight. He was really fun to put together. I decided to go for the armoured, but I was really torn. He's got the Hunter Killer missile. This one has a plasma gun. However, for those that are indecisive on weapons or what weapons to give them, they very easily clip off. And you can build all your weapon options and push them on. All these different weapons, they're all self-contained, so there's no parts that are shared across any of the weapon variants on the Sentinels. They're all separate, so you can build them all and then choose which one you want to put on for your battles. The chainsword, though, however, is glued. However, it does move and twist like that, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's the Sentinel. So that is the Cadia Stands box. I had hoped to bring you more built and painted models, but hopefully I'll get those done and shared across social media in the not too distant future. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Our thanks again to Games Workshop for sending us this box to review. I cannot wait to get a Cadian army on the battlefield, ready to take to some tournaments and to play against the rest of the guys. Hopefully that's going to be sooner rather than later. The book's really got me feeling the Guard is my 40k army at the moment. Yeah, so again, hope you've enjoyed this video. Do check out my written review at the link in the description. And until next time, have a great time hobbying. I'll speak to you all again very soon. Bye!